As the first month of baseball comes to a close, some of our original predictions didn't quite end up the way we thought. Hello everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Destiny Sanchez alongside Carlos Garcia and Logan Bourandas. Baseball definitely has not gone the way people have expected the past few weeks. Many teams have broken out of slumps and some continue to slide. Tonight we are talking about some teams that are off to a great start and others that have surprised us. There are some teams that are on fire right now. The A's rode an incredible wave to historic heights the past 2 weeks, and unfortunately it came to an end after their loss to the Orioles on Sunday. The Red Sox are off to a surprising start, being in first place and having the second best record in the league. I'll start with you, Carlos. What are your thoughts on these teams?
Well, Logan, I'm not from Boston, but I'm going to try a little bit of a Bostonian accent here and say that you don't have to be wicked smart to say that these Red Sox, they are rolling right now. The boys from Boston, they're putting the league on notice, and they're really sending out messages that they're possibly a threat going into the postseason. Right now, sitting atop of a loaded AL East. Right now, they're 14-9, and a huge part of the reason why they're winning so much is due to the pitching, but specifically one guy, Steady Eddie, their lefty ace, Eduardo Rodriguez. Right now, Rodriguez in 4 starts, he's 4-0, and he has a 3.52 ERA. So a number that's a little bit high, but if he can bring that down, definitely the pitching is gonna ride the Red Sox to the postseason. But I think they're in great hands right now with the overall play of the team and especially the pitching.
Yeah, I think another team to look at here in the AL, the Oakland A's. And I talked about them on a segment before. I said they were out of the race. And I want to officially apologize to Billy Beane and the Oakland A's organization. I have the apology letter in hand. But this A's team is not going anywhere right now. They had a 13-game winning streak, came to an end a couple days ago. But the big question with this A's team was their offense. And they haven't looked too great in that category right now, but it's still led them to wins. And Matt Olson's been the big key to this point, hitting over 300 right now, kind of carrying this A's offense to power first baseman is. They still have Jed Lowry, the former New York Met, still doing his part in that streak. But what kind of concerns me about this A's team for the future is that their offense, aside from those two guys, hasn't been too great right now. Matt Chapman, Elvis Andrus, just a couple guys in that lineup that are still struggling. But right now, I definitely won't say they're still out of the race right now. They're still very much in it, as their first place record kind of shows right now. But they are still in a tight AL West with the Astros and the Angels, among other teams.
The Dodgers and the Padres had an electric 4-game series this past week. Every game played, with the exception of one, was decided by 1 run. Both teams have proven their strengths and are giving us a glimpse to maybe what's to come in the postseason. With this being said, Logan, what are your biggest takeaways from this matchup?
Well, Destiny, this is going to be one of the best rivalries in baseball for years to come. There's storylines all over the place to look at with this matchup here. And especially in this last series, Fernando Tatis hit a home run off Trevor Bauer. And at this picture right here, he hit a home run off Bauer, and he covered his one of his hands over his eyes, like Trevor Bauer did that in spring training where he pitched a strikeout with one of his eyes closed. These two teams, they play in the same division in the NL West. They play in the same state, obviously the city of California. So these two teams are going to be seeing each other for quite some time. And the storylines, they're all over the place there. Just as I kind of said with that, but these two teams, they've played in the playoffs last year, and with the Padres having that rising team in baseball and the Dodgers just coming off that World Series championship, these two teams are going to be seeing a lot of each other in the near future, and this is going to make it one of the best rivalries in recent memory.
Well, definitely, like you said, Logan, it's a shame that not only they play in the same division, these two teams, but they play in the same state. And this is possibly, if it wasn't for all the divisions and the stuff in the MLB, this could be a World Series matchup in its sense. The two best teams, in my opinion, in the league right now, the Dodgers and the young core of the Padres. You know, obviously we see Fernando Tatis, huge star, and he's really bringing back those unwritten rules of baseball. He's bringing that swagger on and off the field. We saw he had 5 homers in the 4-game span this weekend, and he even took it to Twitter after, calling Trevor Bauer his son. So I think this is great for the MLB. It's bringing back really that swagger and that play on and off the field. So this is going to be great to see. And I truly think that whoever wins the NL West might be the winner of the World Series. It's going to be close between these two teams. But like I said, it's going to be a great matchup to see going into the postseason.
And I think it's also important to mention that Tatis, when he hit those 2 home runs, it was on the anniversary that his father hit the 2 grand slams in 1 inning. Mind you, also against the Dodgers. So I think the Dodgers are having some nightmares from the Tatis family right now. The Brewers are leading the pack in the NL Central. However, St. Louis is always a force to be reckoned with. Injuries have plagued the Brewers, and the Cardinals can be viewed as the sleeping giant. With St. Louis looming over the Brew Crew, how do you see the Central unfolding?
The city of Milwaukee. I know the beer is tasting really nice in Miller Park because your team is rolling right now. The Brewers, one of the hottest teams, and really nobody expected them to be leading the NL Central just because the offseason acquisition of Nolan Arenado to the Cardinals, and after that disaster of a year they had last year with their former MVP Christian Yelich being in a slump for most of the season. I think really, the Brewers are exceeding all expectations and proving all the odds are against them, and they're really showing the MLB what they're bringing to the plate, no pun intended. But I think that an issue that I'm going to see with the Brewers is, can they stay healthy? Obviously, we see that former MVP Christian Yelich, he has that back injury and he's been sidelined for a while. MRIs really haven't shown anything, so we don't know a timetable to his return. Plus, a starting pitcher in the rotation, Brett Anderson, he was pulled from Friday's action after only 11 pitches due to a right knee injury. So can they stay healthy? That's going to be the main question for the Brewers. But if they can, and they can continue doing whatever they're doing, I see them making a strong push and maybe even taking that division.
Well, Carlos, I don't know how you can mention this Brewers rotation without talking about Corbin Burns. I don't want to compare him to Jacob deGrom, but he has been Jacob deGrom-esque so far this season. And there was a stat earlier on where he had almost the same amount of strikeouts, maybe even more, than Javier Baez, a hitter for the Chicago Cubs, had. But this rotation for the Brewers, it's been a big problem when they were competing with Christian Yelich's MVP days, but now they seem to have figured it out thus far. They have Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff kind of leading that pack alongside Josh Hader in that bullpen. And going with the Cardinals, they were everyone's favorite to really win that NL Central division, especially after getting Nolan Arenado at the deadline. And they're still kind of hovering around that 500 area. So I feel like it's going to be these two teams fighting for the NL Central, especially with the Cincinnati Reds kind of falling apart as of late. They had a very hot start in the NL Central, but they have had a long losing streak to this point. They're in last place. Yes, the Pirates are not in last place in the NL Central right now, but this is going to be a fun division to watch for the months to come.
So with 1 month of baseball in the books, we have seen teams outperform preseason expectations while others are off to a slow start. There's still a long summer ahead of us with many games still left to play. The question is, will these rising teams keep this same momentum? We'll just have to wait and see. That's all we have for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Carlos Garcia and Logan Bourandas, I'm Destiny Sanchez, and we'll see you in the fall.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.